Georgy Konstantinovich Zhukov, December, OS 19 November, 1896, June 18, 1974, was a career officer in the Red Army of the Soviet Union, who became Chief of General Staff, Deputy Commander-in-Chief, Minister of Defense and a member of the Politburo. During World War II he participated in multiple battles, ultimately commanding the 1st Belarusian Front in the Battle of Berlin. In recognition of Zhukov's role in World War II, he was allowed to participate in signing the German Instrument of Surrender and to inspect the Moscow Victory Parade of 1945. Early life and career: born into a poverty-stricken peasant family in Strelkovka, Maloy-Rozlivsky Uyezd, Kaluga Governorate, now merged into the town of Zhukov in Zhukovsky district of Kaluga Oblast in modern-day Russia. Zhukov became an apprentice furrier in Moscow. In 1915 the army of the Russian Empire conscripted him. He served first in the 106th Reserve Cavalry Regiment, then called the 10th Dragoon Novgorod Regiment. During World War I, Zhukov was awarded the Cross of St. George twice, and promoted to the rank of non-commissioned officer for his bravery in battle. He joined the Bolshevik Party after the 1917 October Revolution. In party circles his background of poverty became a significant asset. After recovering from a serious case of typhus he fought in the Russian Civil War over the period 1918 to 1921, serving with the 1st Cavalry Army, among other formations. He received the decoration of the Order of the Red Banner for his part in subduing the Tambov Rebellion in 1921, peacetime service until Khalkhin at the end of May 1923. Zhukov became a commander of the 39th Cavalry Regiment. In 1924, he entered the Higher School of Cavalry, 5, from which he graduated the next year, returning afterward to command the same regiment. In May 1930, Zhukov became commander of the 2nd Cavalry Brigade of the 7th Cavalry Division. In February 1931, he was appointed the Assistant Inspector of Cavalry of the Red Army. In May 1933, Zhukov was appointed a commander in the 4th Cavalry Division. In 1937, he became a commander of the 3rd Cavalry Corps, later of the 6th Cavalry Corps. In 1938, he became a deputy commander of the Belarusian Military District for Cavalry. Khalkhin to Barbarossa. In 1938, Zhukov was directed to command the 1st Soviet Mongolian Army Group, and saw action against Japan's Kwantung Army on the border between Mongolia and the Japanese-controlled state of Manchukuo. This campaign was an undeclared war that lasted from 1938 to 1939. What began as a routine border skirmish, with the Japanese testing the resolve of the Soviets to defend their territory, rapidly escalated into a full-scale war, with the Japanese pushing forward with an estimated 80,000 troops, 180 tanks and 450 aircraft. These events led to the strategically decisive Battle of Khalkhin Nomonhan. Zhukov requested major reinforcements, and on August 20, 1939, his Soviet offensive commenced. After a massive artillery barrage, nearly 500 BT-5 and BT-7 tanks advanced, supported by over 500 fighters and bombers. This was the Soviet Air Force's first fighter-bomber operation. The offensive first appeared to be a typical conventional frontal attack. However, 2 tank brigades were initially held back and then ordered to advance around on both flanks, supported by motorized artillery, infantry, and other tanks. This daring and successful maneuver encircled the Japanese 6th Army and captured the enemy's vulnerable rear supply areas. By August 31, 1939, the Japanese had been cleared from the disputed border, leaving the Soviets clearly victorious. This campaign had significance beyond the immediate tactical and local outcome. Zhukov demonstrated and tested the techniques later used against the Germans in the Eastern Front of the Second World War. These innovations included the deployment of underwater bridges 14, and improving the cohesion and battle effectiveness of inexperienced units by adding a few experienced, battle-hardened troops to bolster morale and overall training. Evaluation of the problems inherent in the performance of the BT tanks led to the replacement of their fire-prone petrol, gasoline, engines with diesel engines, and provided valuable practical knowledge that was essential to the success and development of the T-34 medium tank, widely considered the most outstanding all-around general-purpose tank of World War II. After this campaign, Namenhun veterans were transferred to units that had not seen action, to better spread the benefits of their battle experience. For his victory, Zhukov was declared a hero of the Soviet Union. However, the campaign, and especially Zhukov's pioneering use of tanks, remain little known outside of the Soviet Union itself. Zhukov considered Namenhun invaluable preparation for conducting operations during the Second World War. In 1940 Zhukov became an army general. Pre-war military exercises. In autumn 1940, G.K. Zhukov started preparing the plans for the military exercise about defending the border of the Soviet Union, which at this time was pushed further to the west due to the annexation of eastern Poland. In his memoirs Zhukov reports that in this exercise he commanded the Western or Blue forces, the supposed invasion troops, and his opponent was Colonel General D.G. Pavlov, the commander of the Eastern or Red forces, the supposed Soviet troops. He noted that the Blue had 60 divisions, while the Red had 50 divisions. Zhukov in his memoirs describes the events of exercise as similar to actual events during the German invasion. As historian Bobby Lev reports in his article in Military History Journal, the actual details of the exercises were reported differently in different memoirs of their participants. He reported that 2 exercises were done, one on January 6, 1941, for the northwest direction, another on January 11, 1941, for the southwest direction. Conditions of the first one explained that Western forces have attacked Eastern on 15 July, but Eastern forces counterattacked and by 1 August have reached the original border. At that time, start of the exercise, Eastern forces had a numerical advantage, for example, 51 Infantry Division against 41, 8,811 tanks against 3,512, with exception of anti-tank guns. Belilev describes that by the end of the exercise the Eastern forces did not manage to surround and destroy the Western forces, which, in their turn, threatened to surround the Eastern forces themselves. The same historian reported that the second game was won by the Easterners, meaning that on the whole, both games were won by the side commanded by Zhukov. However, he noted that the games had a serious disadvantage since they did not consider the initial attack by Western forces, but only a later attack by Eastern forces from the initial border. According to Marshal Alexander Vasilevsky, the war-game defeat of Pavlov's Red troops against Zhukov was not known widely, but the victory of Zhukov's Red troops against Kulik was widely propagandized, which created a popular illusion about easy success for a preemptive offensive. On February 1, 1941, Zhukov became chief of the Red Army's General Staff. Controversy about a plan for war with Germany from February 2, 1941, As the Chief of the General Staff, and Deputy Minister of Defense of the USSR, Zhukov took part in drawing up the strategic plan for deployment of the forces of the Soviet Union in the event of war with Germany and its allies. The plan was completed no later than May 15, 1941. Some researchers, for example, Viktor Suvorov, conclude that, on 14 May, Soviet People's Commissar of Defense Semyon Timoshenko and Zhukov suggested to Joseph Stalin a preemptive attack against Germany through southern Poland. Soviet forces would occupy the Vistula border and continue to Katowice or even Berlin, should the main German armies retreat, or the Baltic coast, should German forces not retreat and be forced to protect Poland and East Prussia. The attacking Soviets were supposed to reach Siedlce, Dublin, and then capture Warsaw before penetrating toward the southwest and imposing final defeat at Lublin. Historians did not have the original documents that could verify the existence of such a plan, or whether Stalin accepted it. In a transcript of an interview on May 26, 1965, Zhukov stated that Stalin did not approve the plan. However, Zhukov did not clarify whether execution was attempted. As of 1999, no other approved plan for a Soviet attack had been found.